action.
When a 16-year-old Sonny Garcia started telling everyone he was going to beat the best surfers in the world, we all knew he was serious. Inspired by the legendary Hawaiian powerhouse Dane Kealoha, Sonny took his talents to backdoor, showing all of us what was possible at the sketchier right-handed brother of Pipeline. But when it came to all the best surfers in the world, just one guy stood in his way. Sean Thompson once said, "There's Pipeline before Kelly Slater and Pipeline after Kelly Slater." I think I have to agree with that one. Taking cues from Michael Ho's backside rail grab, like all things Kelly, he took it a step further, sticking his left arm in the wave and proving just how deep you can get going backside. But that was just the beginning. Sonny absolutely dominated the North Shore's Triple Crown, while Kelly claimed the world. That's until two brothers and a bunch of their friends from Kauai came to town. There's no legend of Andy Irons without Bruce. No Bruce without Andy. They were the start of a new generation. They were young and seemingly fearless, taking what Kelly started and pushing it even further with Hawaiian power, finesse, and superhero-like confidence. We all know about their Pipe Masters wins, about Andy's world titles, about the storybook rivalry with Kelly. But I'm not sure either brother would have achieved their greatness without the other. And as surf fans, we're all just fortunate to have witnessed what I think is still one of the greatest, most progressive eras in surfing history.
Bruce Irons pulls in maybe a little bit.
Love and respect to the Irons Ohana. As in most communities, we get our pride from the hometown heroes. These days on the North Shore, that's Jamie and John John. I've always thought Jamie's approach to Pipeline was like his approach to life. Pedal to the metal. But from all that energy came a lot of creativity. And then came John John, the kid, the prodigy, the champ.
17 world champion.
If there's one thing the mentor and the mentee have in common, it's that Pipeline has literally been their backyard playground. No matter how much time you put in out there, these two will always have an advantage. For them, Pipeline is home. In 2014, the much heralded Brazilian storm finally made landfall on the North Shore, and it came in the form of a 21-year-old force of nature named Gabriel Medina.
This is a big wave. He's locked in. He should come through this one. Here he comes.
The newly crowned world champ just missed a Pipe Masters title that year, but there was no denying that this young Brazilian had a grip on pipe like no visiting surfer we had seen before. For someone who doesn't get a whole lot of free surf time out there, I've never seen anyone adapt and excel so quickly at what is undoubtedly one of the world's most difficult waves to dial in. Maybe one of the few I've seen who actually appears to bend the wave to his will versus the other way around. His performances at Pipe will be a joy to watch for years to come. There have been so many major milestones in women's surfing in recent years, but in my opinion, this one might be the biggest. The first year, the Women's Tour will officially compete at Pipeline. The most dangerous wave in the world welcomes its new challengers, while we recognize those who paved the way, all the way back to Joyce Hoffman, to the 70s chargers like Lynn Boyer and Margot Ober, to the turn-of-the-century legends like Rochelle Ballard and Keala Kennelly, and more recently, Moana Jones-Wong. Women are earning their rightful place on surfing's biggest stage. There's a limitless future on the horizon, one we're all looking forward to seeing. No matter the year, the generation, the surfer, one thing has always remained the same: the wave. It's our love and respect of this one special place that remains constant across the decades. Let's raise our glasses in eternal thanks for the ones who have come before us, for those who have paved the way. Here's to sacrifice, to paradise, to heaven, to hell, and everything in between. Here's to Pipeline.
We've been buried in them and the reality of making them real for so long that it's easy to forget sometimes just what a massive set of regulation changes these 2022 rules represent. I've been working in the sport for over 30 years and they dwarf anything else I've ever seen. I suspect if I were to dig out Wikipedia and go through every season of the sport that there's ever been, there would be nothing to match the scale of the change that comes with 2022. The rule set is not only enormous, the regulations are about twice the size of what's preceded them, but they're all almost entirely different from what came before them. And that has meant that we've had to reinvent the car tip to toe. Everywhere you look, it's completely new. Not just new as in new parts, but new as in completely new philosophy. A completely different aerodynamic package, different brakes, different wheels, crucially different tyres. And even the engine, one of the things that is less touched by the regulations than many, even there, the engine has to be, or the power unit has to be prepared so that it can be frozen for 3 years. All the goodness that you can possibly pack into it has to be packed into it now or forever hold your peace, because after that, changes will be very, very difficult to make real. So it has been incredibly hard, very challenging and long to get our heads around this and to try to figure out what the best response is to these regulations and where the opportunity is to be found in order to put a car on the track in a few short weeks from now that gives us a chance of being competitive right from the beginning. This new rule set has been quite a long time in the making. It was first proposed as a set of objectives way back in 2017, I think, when Ross Brawn, the technical director of Liberty back in the day, were to have cars that would be capable of closer racing from the front of the grid to the back of the grid. So instead of the 2 to 3 seconds that divide the front from the back today, they hoped for a much closer grid. Often suggested that maybe compressing it all into 1 second would be a more exciting formula than the one we've been used to. But not just compressed front to back, but also a format of car that would allow the cars to race more effectively with one another on the track and to permit an easier and more natural form of overtaking than we've been used to in Formula One in recent seasons. And then finally, for those cars to be more affordable for all the teams in the grid, whatever budget level. Those were the sort of headline objectives of this regulation. And I guess those are the reasons why this big change. They wanted to simplify aspects of the sport from a technical perspective so that teams of a wider range of budget levels could have a sort of equal opportunity at those regulations. And the reason that the entire regulation set on the aerodynamic side has been so substantially revamped was to try to create an aerodynamic configuration that would slip through the air in a less messy fashion, allowing a car that follows another car to be less disturbed by having that car in front of it. And that's not an easy nut to crack, certainly not easy to tweak the existing regulation set to try to deliver that. And so there was a decision taken by Liberty and by the FIA that they would have a wholesale reworking of the regulations to try to create that configuration. That's sort of why we're here. That's why this regulation is so big and so different to everything that preceded it. Whether or not those objectives will be realised in this new formula, well, that's a very different question, and time will tell. Time will tell. They are very ticklish problems and not at all easy to solve via technical regulation. It's an interesting experience being a team member at a time of great change like this for the sport, because as well as being members of a team, we're fans of the sport. All of us love Formula One. We wouldn't have got into it if we didn't. And so these high-level objectives are ones that of course we share. We love the idea of close racing. We love the idea of cars being able to duke it out with one another, hammer and tongs every track in a way that has completely compelling viewing for all of us. As fans, all of us want that. But as team members and as teammates to each other, we just want one thing. We want a competitive car, a car that will be at the front of that gaggle of fighting cars. And yeah, if the racing's great behind us, brilliant, but we only want to be at the front of it. And that will be true for every team on the grid. So we approach a regulation set like this, not with a view of whether or not it will deliver on its objective. We just take the regulations as they're written and try to figure out how to make the car as fast as we possibly can. And when the regulations change in such large measure as these ones, well then we approach that with all the fun and relish that challenge deserves, because our job is to look for technical opportunity in regulations and then use our combined wit and skill and all the effort that we make collectively to try to find a configuration of car that will be better than anyone else's approach to it. And when everything is as new as this, then everywhere you look in that regulation set, twice as thick as the old one, there's opportunity. There's opportunity and of course there's jeopardy. And we try to pick our way through the potential minefield and picking up all the little boxes of treasure that may be set in amongst the landmines to end up with a car that we hope will see us pitching at the front of the grid. It's not unique to Mercedes to be excited about a regulation set, but it is something I can speak of with the personal experience of having been a part of this team, that we do love it when new regulations come along. We see it as an opportunity to show that we haven't just been lucky over the years. We haven't merely stumbled into a formula. It's often talked about as the turbo hybrid era, as if we sort of stumbled into some God-given right to have been dominant all these last seasons. We see every single regulation change as an opportunity to pit our wits against them and see whether we actually deserve still to be competitive, to see whether or not we can show afresh that that we've understood the physics behind the car, that we've tried to translate that into designs and concepts that we then realise in manufacturing and then deliver to the track in a way that allows us to be competitive once more. All of us give our working lives to this sport and quite a lot more besides, and the validation of knowing that you can pick up a set of regulations like this and work with them. When that's realised, it's a brilliant feeling, and it makes all the hard work, and there is a measure of sacrifice to it as well. It makes all of that entirely worthwhile. You get way more payback from feeling like you've done a good job than you do suffering from all the effort that went into providing that good job. So this team does have a culture that treats such opportunity with excitement and pleasure, and a chance to demonstrate to ourselves that we hopefully are not bad at doing racing cars. And putting my fan's hat on and trying to anticipate what we can expect when the racing starts, well, that is a difficult thing to anticipate in terms of what the pecking order will be. It's a difficult thing to anticipate in terms of exactly how everything will play out, but it's a brilliantly exciting thing to contemplate, precisely because none of us know. One of the things that is the essence of sport is not knowing. We, all of us, have done our level best. I'm talking about everyone in our team, everyone in every other team will have done our level best to try to find a design and an approach that will be a happy match to this new regulation set. And we'll all get to find out together at the start of this season, in the races that unfold from there, exactly how that shakes out. I would imagine, given that the cars are so new and so different, that one or two cars on the grid will have got it really badly wrong, and that they will have a terribly painful year. I would imagine that all of us, to some degree, will have left things on the table that we just didn't anticipate, and we will look at other cars and think, oh, why didn't we think of that? And then we'll be scrabbling around to try and get that idea onto our car as fast as possible, so that we can claw our way from whatever position we land in that first race, so that we can claw our way forwards, or if we're lucky enough to be in front, to keep the attacking wolves behind us. It's going to be quite a rush, and definitely something that's going to keep us all from having too much sleep for the whole of the season.
After a tough test here in the sand in the desert, it's time for another challenge, snow and ice. We are here at the GP Ice Race at Selamsee. And together with me here is the king of drifting, Ken Block.
Nothing compares to actually experiencing it. The handling, the power, the design, it truly defines intelligent performance. I'm so happy to be part of the Audi team and be able to help shape the future with them. If it's anything like this, it's going to be great.
When I first met the family, I was just driving through. Then I came across this painted house. I went in and our relationship started. I really feel good about the fact that people, under all odds, have decided to remain who they are. It is important that you keep your traditions because your children must know where they're coming from. And that has made me have more respect for the people in the rural areas than the people in the city. They have enriched me. It is a privilege to have known the Demanda family, for I would not have had the insight that I have today.
February 18th, 1885. Mark Twain's The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, one of the great American novels, is first published in the United States. 1861, months before the Civil War breaks out, Jefferson Davis is sworn in as President of the newly formed Confederate States of America. 1970, 5 of the Chicago 7 defendants are found guilty of conspiring to incite riots at the 1968 Democratic National Convention. The convictions are later overturned. 2001, veteran FBI agent Robert Hansen is arrested, accused of spying for Moscow for years. At first, Hansen pleads innocent, but then changes his plea to guilty, and he's sentenced to life in prison. Also that same year,
we've lost Dale Earnhardt.
In Florida, auto racing star Dale Earnhardt Sr. dies from injuries received in a crash at the Daytona 500. He was 49. And in 1954...
You know, I work on my hair a long time, and you hit it. He hits my hair.
Actor John Travolta, whose movie roles include Saturday Night Fever, Grease, and Pulp Fiction, is born in Englewood, New Jersey. Today in history, February 18th. John Belmont, The Associated Press.
Welcome back in our studio, and in today's news,